You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today we have an amazing edition of the Cabral HouseCalls. So I say it's amazing, and the reason is that we have 8 questions this weekend. We're going to go through 4 today and 4 tomorrow. But I honestly believe that the quality of the questions and also just the varying degree of what they cover is truly going to help you, I would say, take your overall health and wellness knowledge to that next level. And the reason is this: you're going to start to see how multiple ailments and issues all interconnect with other parts of the body and also kind of overlap into other questions. So I'm really looking forward to answering these. I've just going in order right now. So we are getting a little bit behind. I'm going to try to keep all of our Q&As obviously to around the 15-minute mark. So I'm going to go just, a little quicker through them. But at the same time, I'm going to make sure that we continue to do 4 questions each and every house call, which is both Saturdays and Sundays. And of course, you can catch up on those whenever you're ready. But really, I'll say one other thing, and that's this, that each Cabral house call, like each question, let's say it's around 3 or 4 minutes. Each one is honestly its own little episode. I could talk about it for a much longer period of time, but I hope that trying to be concise and to the point also helps get the point across that there are only so many things for you to look at in terms of getting well, getting healthy, or losing weight. And that's the nice thing, is that we don't have to go searching for a million different areas and a million different facets of medicine. It can really be contained within one comprehensive, cohesive functional medicine, naturopathic medicine, orthomolecular medicine type of approach. And I'm going to share all of that with you today, and hopefully that you've been getting that on previous Cabral concepts as well. So let's get right into it. The first question is from Tony. He or she is asking, "Hi Stephen, what do you recommend for tinnitus? Have read that bioidentical aldosterone drops, although not sure where to purchase, are good for hearing issues and tinnitus. Any thoughts? Excellent podcast. Thanks." Okay, so thanks, Tony. This is a nice little question to answer. And I'll tell you this, is tinnitus is a tough one. It really is a tough one to solve. I shouldn't say it's a tough one to solve. You will solve it, but sometimes we never know the underlying root cause. And so I'm just going to share with you this, that when people come into my practice, they could be having all sorts of different issues. The nice thing is, I don't even have to know why it was caused in the first place. I do ask, I do try to get to the bottom of it, and usually 9 out of 10 times we can figure out what that event was. But the truth is that that's not even necessary. What I need to find out is right now, not your genotype. I do want to know your genetics, but your phenotype. What is it? Who is it that you become? What's become imbalanced? What do I need to replace? Meaning, like, what has your body lost in terms of minerals or hormones, or what does it have too much of in terms of toxicities that I need to take away from the body? So with tinnitus, I can tell you this: it's heavy metal accumulation. Could be mercury or aluminum, could be lead, could be arsenic, could be cadmium. It can be injury, an actual injury to the head, meaning that, let's just say that I work with mixed martial artists, I work with football players, I work with professional football players. Excited that I actually work with some of the New England Patriots, so that's really fun for me as well because I'm a huge Patriots fan. They'll be in the Super Bowl Sunday, so really exciting. So what else can it be? It can be circulation issues. It can be mineral imbalances. It can be stress related. So it's like, how do you figure out which one it is? Now, if you're working with me through a Skype consultation or in my practice, we'd go over those things. But let's talk about what the answer is typically in general. So I had to deal with tinnitus actually through much of my 20s. And it's not fun because your ear is literally ringing. People are trying to talk to you. It can just come about at any random time. Mine would come about where I would actually just kind of like sit down at the end of the night and I'd be on my couch and my ears, well, mainly just my left ear would start to ring. Sometimes it would actually switch between ears. Usually it was never both at the same time. So I had to go and I had to do the research and I had to look at everything. And again, that's how I know it's all these different things that it could be. Here's what it was for me, and here's what it was. So now you have the benefit of me working with hundreds of people with the same exact issue. For most people, myself included, it was a lack of B vitamins. I added an activated B complex. We'll link it up in the show notes. You can always just find it at a store. So inexpensive. I think an activated B complex is like $1 per day, literally. It might even be less than that. And I was low in B12 and folate, so that helped. I also was low in zinc and magnesium. So when I added those things, all of a sudden, my tinnitus went away, and it only took about a week. That was it. So, the truth is that it's actually easier than you think. You can just take the activated multivitamin that we recommend, which is a functional medicine vitamin, which is like literally $1 a day, or the all-in-one, which is called the daily nutritional support powder, which is what I do. It's so simple. Then you can add in, if needed, if that doesn't do it, and you do that in a smoothie in the morning, if that isn't enough, then you could add in additional B complex, additional magnesium, or additional zinc. But it's usually enough, right? So start there, and I know, well, at least I'm hoping, because you can always write back, and I'm happy to give you additional suggestions. But those are the main ones that I've seen work over and over and over. In terms of aldosterone drops, I don't want to negate that question that you did ask. It's nice, but it's looking at one little symptomatic thing. What is aldosterone? Aldosterone is used for blood pressure regulation, osmosis, sodium retention, all of those things. So what does that happen, though? That happens in terms of stress. So aldosterone will increase in terms of initial stress for fight or flight, and then eventually when you get burnt out, it will actually drop very, very low, and people end up with low blood pressure. Orthostatic fails, which is when they go to stand up, they actually get lightheaded, right? That's kind of like moving more towards autonomic nervous system fatigue. So I certainly wouldn't look to aldosterone drops. I would add some sea salt, some Himalayan sea salt, some pink salt, or real salt to your meals. For sure, you can do that, but no need to go with aldosterone drops because it's not correcting an underlying root cause problem at all, right? So we can work on the stress, that's for sure, but the aldosterone drops are not going to cut it. Okay. Tricia is up next. Hi, Stephen. I have this fingernail-size lump or nodule on the back of my heel. It's been there for a couple weeks, no redness, but is painful to touch. I don't do any intense exercise, only walking. But could this be Achilles tendonitis or Haglund's? I will take turmeric for inflammation and tightness, but how would you best get rid of the bump? Thanks and great podcast. Okay. So, Tricia, let's answer your question. It's pretty straightforward. You know what's going on. What happens is in this thing called Haglund's, and you are pretty much correct. I would assume that's what you have. Haglund's is really a bone spur or inflammation of the bursa that then creates a lump, which is inflammation, on the Achilles tendon, or at least near it, near the calcaneus or right above, which is the heel. And you know what? Affectionately, it's referred to as pump bump. And that's typically women get it. Not a lot of men get it. And it's from wearing hard-soled, or I should say hard-heeled shoes. I guess that's the best way to say it, is that the heel of the back of your shoe is not very soft. And because of that, it creates irritation on the bone, on the tendon, and that backlash, basically, that irritation then creates a bump as an inflammation. So you're absolutely right with using things like turmeric. Wobenzyme is a phenomenal enzyme formula as well, and so is boswellia. So those are three great ones that help with initial inflammation. But, we really have to look at you changing your shoes. Did you change your shoes 3 or 4 weeks ago to cause this bump to appear a couple weeks back? And if so, well, that pair of shoes, no matter how much you love them, might have to be put aside for a little while. And then when you do wear them again, you'll probably want to put a buffer on the back of the shoe, something softer so you don't get that hard push against the actual Achilles tendon or just the actual bone as well in the heel. So that's the main thing. Other people with high arches, they're more prone to this. And again, if that's you, then you'll want to wear a shoe most likely that has something where your foot can actually rest on that arch. I'm not a proponent of orthotics, and the reason is I don't want the arches to actually get a chance to rest. I'd love to strengthen them through barefoot training, through barefoot deadlifting, through barefoot step-ups and lunges and one-legged squats and all those great things, but that's another show. So tune in for the Training Thursdays for that one. So hopefully that answers your question. I gave you some great formulas for anti-inflammatories, told you to kind of back off whatever those hard shoes are that you're wearing and just wait to decrease that inflammation. I would also recommend just a little bit of sesame oil for massage on that specific area. Okay? So Kara is up next. Kara is asking, hi, Dr. Rawl, do you have any tips on how to stop snacking while cooking? I tend to mindlessly snack when preparing meals, even if I'm not hungry? Thanks, Kara. Okay, so this is an excellent question. And my advice is always to start to be mindful of what we're putting in our mouth for food, for water, for beverages, for all of those things. But I totally understand where you're coming from because this is a absolutely common occurrence. A lot of people, both men and women, when they are cooking, they tend to have a glass of wine while cooking because it helps them unwind. They love the act of having a glass of wine or a drink. It calms their body down where they're cooking a meal for themselves or their family. And, that's a really nice thing. But the issue is, it's like these things that we're snacking on or drinking wine, those types of things aren't good for our body, right? So we need to then, in the beginning, we can't just kind of stop cold turkey because our habitual practice is to actually have a snack. So my absolute recommendation and again, this question isn't just unique to you. Many, many people ask me this question, is to cut up some crudité or some vegetables, raw vegetables like carrots and celery. Those are absolutely fantastic to snack on. And the reason is they're going to fill you up because of the fiber that they have in them. They're high water content, and carrots are a little sweet, so they're going to give you a little bit of that sweetness. You can dip them, don't cover them in olive oil, in a little bit of olive oil if you would like, or just a little bit of white bean dip, a little bit of hummus, not a lot, just a little bit because you're going to be having dinner soon as well. So that tends to work just phenomenally well for people while cooking dinner. You could create any type of raw vegetables that you would like. Some people like peppers, especially like red peppers or yellow peppers. That's okay as well. That might work great for you. So I want you to look at a few other things as well. And one is I want to make sure that you're not getting famished, before dinner. You said you're not really hungry, so now I know it's more of just like a habitual practice. But for some people, they're not eating enough at lunch, or they're getting really hungry before dinner, and that's causing them to overeat. So sometimes mid-afternoon, around 3 o'clock or so, 4 o'clock, you might actually want to have the raw vegetables then, or you might want to have a handful of nuts, like raw almonds or raw walnuts or something like that, a second smoothie or a bowl of berries, something like that, so that you're not as ravenous when dinner time comes. And my last thing would be this. Before you do any cut up veggies, before you do any snacking, whatever it might be, I highly recommend having an 8 to 12 ounce glass of water, just with some fresh lemon or some fresh lime squeezed in there. I really love lime squeezed in water. It gives it a really nice taste that's going to hydrate your body. And if it was just your body being a little dehydrated, the water is going to replace the dehydration, which was causing those hunger-based feelings in the beginning. And by hydrating your gut, by hydrating your body, you're going to better be able to digest dinner as long as that big glass of water was a half hour before dinner. So again, hopefully this gave you enough tips to get started, and I know that if you follow those things, you're going to get the results that you are looking for. So again, hopefully that helped. Okay, last question today is from Rose. Rose is asking, hi, Stephen. First off, I would love to thank you for all the information you give out freely. Love your podcast. Great job. I have been with a holistic doctor for a while, treating my bouts with vertigo. I do acupuncture and cupping, and at the same time, she has given me supplements. Have you heard of isotonics? I take everything from B, C's, multi, calcium, etc. Are they any good? Thanks so much. Okay, so Rose, I have some, basically good news and some bad news. Like, one is you're on the right track. You're doing a lot of right things. Okay, here's the issue. Vertigo can be from kind of what we just talked about in that first question, which is about stress and the dropping of aldosterone. When your body's been kind of wiped out for a while, you'll start to get vertigo or lightheadedness because of literally what's called that orthostatic feel, or when you stand up or your body doesn't have the ability to pump the blood from the gastrocnemius, the gastrocs, back up to the heart fast enough. Part of that is from the lowered levels of aldosterone, which is a hormone. Part of it is from depleted minerals in your body, such as sodium. And so you're going to want to take care of that first. I would also say just make sure that you are taking a good overall multi, that you're also reducing inflammation, that you've taken care of any viruses, right? That you're using something like lysine, or you're using a product like Virusid, or something that's going to help wipe out potentially any viral-based issues that are causing vertigo. That you want to take care of any sinus-based issues that are causing water or fluid in your sinus cavity as well as your ears as well. So there's a lot of things to look at. You absolutely want to look at those. In terms of isotonics, I hate talking negatively about any companies, right? I don't. Isotonics has some good products and some not so great products. I can't recommend them. Here's the reason why. I have to be fair, and I can only recommend functional medicine-based companies, which is that they don't do like multi-level marketing, that they're not doing anything except absolutely basing every ingredient in their formula on the highest quality research-based studies out there, okay? So here's the thing. Functional medicine supplements might cost a little more, and I'll tell you why. Because they use the absolute best ingredients, hands down. They do that because all they care about is providing these functional medicine supplements to doctors who then have to use them with their patients who, of course, want to see their patients get well again, right? This isn't exactly like direct-to-consumer, which Isotonics is. And again, I'm not going to say that I'm an Isotonics expert. However, I've reviewed their site, and I'm telling you, if they're a popular supplement company, I've most likely, read up on them. I've looked at them. I like to look at what everyone's doing in the industry. And they do some great things, and they do some not great things. For example, like their multivitamin, they use a really poor form of B12. They use cyanocobalamin, right? And they use magnesium carbonate, which is not very well absorbed. Like, why aren't they using magnesium malate or magnesium glycinate or one of the other formulas that are better absorbed, right? So that's what I'm asking myself as I'm going down their ingredient list. I do give them credit. You actually use the activated form of folate, which is like hard to believe. How do you not use the activated form of B12 and a good absorbable form of like P5P for vitamin B6 or absorbable form of magnesium, but you use the absorbable form of folate? So it's kind of like they went halfway. Here's essentially what I'm saying. You can choose any company you want for purchasing supplements, right? For literally maybe like a quarter more a day, like not $1, but for maybe 25 cents to 50 cents more per day, maximum, you're going to get a multivitamin, you're going to get your B vitamins, all of those things that are going to give you everything you need. So why not choose a company like my company that I founded, that I am part of a group, but that I formulated the entire product from exactly what I wanted for my body, for my family, for my everyone that I work with, my practice, for everyone that I obviously care for, right? But again, even if you don't want to use the Equilibrium Nutrition brand, you could use Thorne Research. You could use Orthomolecular Medicine. You could use Integrative Therapeutics. Like, these are all great companies. So I'm not saying that you ever have to choose my brand. I just stand by my brand. It's third-party tested. It's gluten-free. It's dairy-free. I make sure that I do this because I work with the most sensitive of sensitive people. And of course, I'm putting this in my body as well. So it has to be the purest. I don't know what other companies necessarily do if they're not functional medicine-based companies, because I don't know if they have that third-party testing as well. I make sure mine's heavy metal free, of course. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is, for no more than 25 to 50 cents more per day, at the most, might even be the same price, go with the functional medicine-based brand that I recommended for you. So hopefully that answered your question in multiple parts. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Those were 4 amazing questions. We have 4 more great questions coming tomorrow, so I do hope you tune in, and I'm telling you, these questions will not disappoint. Take care, everyone.
Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing, and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests, or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.